SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil with Simpson Family Jeeps SFJ 4x4, and I'm joined in Grandma's Couch Studio with the venerable, the decorated,
producer Jeff that can't get the clock.
the Italian Stallion, who
won't
once
start.
again, for like the
There it goes.
11th episode, it doesn't even matter. It's like 2 years in, and we still just can't make this in-studio clock work for our countdown timer. Remarkable.
I want one that's just hit the button.
Oh, man, like the chest timer.
Yeah.
Just a hard mechanical chest timer.
No, because on your excited days, you will be smacking that down so hard
That's true.
that it will break within the first 2 or 3 episodes.
That's true. And then we'll be back to this thing.
I get so fired up sometimes. I get such big feelings. Additionally, we have the maddest mad scientist,
It's coming off a cold.
Doc Brown. Yeah, took a day or two off at the end of the week there.
A day.
Yeah, whatever. Felt like 2. It's like when Jeffrey goes on vacation.
Yeah.
It's 13 years on vacation. Anywho's a what's
It's so awesome that I go on vacation, and it's like I was gone longer than I've even worked here tenure-wise.
Yeah.
That tracks. That tracks.
In the comments, we got Nate with first saying good morning.
I would expect nothing else.
I know he was back at it this morning. Billy Joe saying good morning. Nate's asking how everyone's enjoying the snow. Daddy Jeep saying morning, guys. Bill McWilliams saying good morning. Joe O'Brien saying darn Nate.
I expected Joe. My money. Joe is the ultimate underdog. I mean, he shows up every single time, just in the comments, swinging.
Always
But Nate,
about 3 to 4 behind. And then Giaga Jeeper says good morning. And takeaway is Mickey Mouse watch and get him a digital one.
That's fair.
fair. All right. Well, today we are going to be, addressing the incredibly talked about, all pervasive weather system that is coming through the United States.
Put the entire U.S. on
other than the
blast.
West Coast. Other than the West Coast.
Oh, no, they were complaining it was cold.
Well, yeah, they got cold, but by standard of what the rest of the U.S. got.
Yeah, it was pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, it was like, 50 or 60 or something. They were
Oh.
really cold.
Oh no. Yeah, because and then ultimately, and I know we have a number of acquaintances in the a good customer base and listenership in the Florida region, but James Highlands and our Hemi TJ sent pictures of his beautiful pool, open currently, and said it was going to be 80 in Florida. They were poolside. But
It's great.
but today's topic, in part, is inspired by one of our customers. As we have most recently shared, Jeffrey had kind of alluded to the fact that one of our customers had talked about wanting to know more or hear about audio systems, specifically in Gladiators, but by extension, newer vehicles. Today's topic, in part, is addressing jump packs and jump starting, which may be more important in these unprecedented times of extreme cold temperatures, right? So I tried to throw as many cliche talking points in there as possible because that's what the news says.
Yeah.
So we are going to be talking about if they're cold, or if you're cold, they're cold, and what that means and how it relates to your vehicle ownership. Now, if you're one of the lucky ducks who, garages your vehicle, this might be slightly less pertinent.
Unless you're in one of the unfortunate places without power right now. I know there's hundreds of thousands without power.
And there is lots to be conversated about here, right? There's a number of angles that we can explore this topic. As always, if you'd like to hear about our own personal lives and my own personal take on the weather, we will talk about our weekend updates following the outro credits at the end of this program. So hang in there if you do so choose. Where do you want to start? I mean, Doc, you always like to go back to the horse and buggy.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have to go quite back that far?
No.
Okay. Because
The horse
realistically,
should have the blanket on in the stall somewhere.
There, he did it. But I know that if you wanted to talk jump packs, I feel like Scott's probably got some random knowledge of this, like 1930s version of a jump pack.
What you used to do is you take the oil out of the car, and you go warm it up in the house, and then pour it back in, so the car would start first thing in the cold morning. So I'm glad we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
all right. So, and on that note, wonderful. I have really enjoyed seeing authentically Arctic temperature individuals who are living, maybe a little more off grid, or are individuals who are on the oil gas fracking industry more in the northern areas, showing how they're trying to warm up their vehicles by building these tents and small wood burners, or having a torpedo heater and trying to concentrate and keep that heat under the front end of their engine. And warm up their engine before they even attempt to turn the key. And they talk about if it's a wood fire and you're doing it kind of the oldest way possible, you could have a wood fire going in there for between 2 and 4 hours. Mm-hmm. Torpedo heaters need roughly 30 to 45 minutes to get that confined space up to temperature. Likewise, I think that certainly generationally, we have a lot of recollection of the fun covers people used to put on the grills of their vehicles. And I certainly remember our school buses having that. Mm. And of course, if you were just an enterprising local farmer or individual, you just went out and you found yourself some cardboard or a piece of plywood that you would, wire tie to the grill of your vehicle. And why would people do that?
Because you don't need the airflow right now.
Yeah. And so ultimately, we have this recollection of these blankets or these provisions at which we did. Well, then we got to this point in society where we would go out and we would preheat our vehicles, right? And of course, big truck drivers and diesel guys, they might let their truck idle through the night sometimes.
And a lot of trucks have shutters that will shut or open
on the grill.
And just because you made me to, 30s cars, like my 36, it was an option to get a Pines winter front grill.
Ooh.
That you could block off most or all of the radiator. And now if you have one for like a 32 Ford, it's worth like $3,000.
Of course it is.
And people are just buying it for the aesthetics.
Yeah. It's just fun to own.
But they would have a cable inside it you would pull, and it would shut or open.
Sure.
So
Sure. Well, and so we went to this warming up the vehicle conversation to within the last decade being told that warming up the vehicle is unnecessary. Yep. And I think that it'll be valuable to talk about why that might be as well in our progressive talking points. I had a good friend just recently, talk about how all the auto manufacturers, many of them at this point in time, remote start is almost standard, right? Almost. It's not actually standard. I need you to know that.
It's
still
actually
optional.
gone so far that now it's subscription based.
In some capacities, because that subscription blah, 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 is Wi-Fi related or app related, so that as the plane is descending into the subarctic Cleveland airport, and you start to, because you paid extra for the Wi-Fi, you can actually remote start your vehicle via your phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's gone to the extreme that it's only on your phone. You don't get remote start.
You don't even get the key fob.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's your Subaru, isn't it?
That's my parents too. Yep.
So we've got this weird discrepancy, right? We've got these technological advances with these cumbersome talking points, and yet we have some what I would call just nuts and bolts of weather-related challenges, right? So like we have this root core conversation, which is like electrical components don't love cold, oil, viscous fluid, the viscosity of the oils, the potential antifreeze, windshield washer fluids, that kind of stuff. And what does that mean for the people who are using that product? Because of course, our southern customers, listeners, friends, and family in the Jeep community do not necessarily need to pay for the extreme cold weather stuff that might be normal for us. Just like snow load is different in, say, Texas.
Trying to trigger me.
A little bit. Just like snow load, building to code is, kind of is different in Oklahoma than it is here in outside of, the Great Lakes. Insulation values, right? So we have these realities. And that is why then we blow up these big proportions, because anything that then we are used to this.
Yeah.
Right? This is kind of the norm for us.
Yeah, you actually missed, because we're going to trigger Scott more, you missed one of the big talking points on building construction, and that's digging depth for freeze points.
For frost lines.
For frost lines.
And now that there's an ice storm going and subarctic temperatures hitting, southern areas, that
They're
frost
have
line
a lot
can
of evil
extend.
issues.
Yeah, your foundational areas can heave.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Or trees can explode.
Which, that's also a thing.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
He wasn't on the internet today.
I wasn't on
Apparently
the
you were
internet
on the
today.
internet ever, because this is a real thing that
My
happens.
first day.
The sap in the trees expands with the rapid freezing, and it'll actually, they don't like shoot.
I
tree
wanted
branches across into somebody
spontaneous
else's house,
explosion.
but it sounds like a gun went off. It splits the tree. Some of them will
Sure.
split in half. Sometimes it'll drop branches. It's if you're near one when it does it, it'll scare the crap out of you.
Huh? Go figure.
Yeah.
Well, so we all have this like I said, this loosey-goosey experience, and we go back to kind of a rudimentary technology. We go back from the 30s, and I hate to even say this, but really arguably up to the 80s, because we have a lot of mechanical, naturally aspirated vehicles with low electric demand in the grand scheme of the world, right? And we're talking bell curve, right? Because Lincoln and Cadillac and Mercedes and all those folks, they were playing with electronics and more sensitive technologies, decades and decades and decades before the rest of us. But this is a Jeep off-road podcast. And so for us, we were still in the Stone Age. And realistically, being able to choke your carbureted vehicle was a critically important part of the startup process. And then, God forbid, you had any moisture in your fuel. As we know from Saturday, I had to bring the tractor in to let the tractor thaw out for purposes of preparing to plow and whatnot, because I got the water in my fuel filter code. Because of course my tractor's
gelling
fancy.
in Magellan.
It wasn't gelling, you know what I mean? It's probably was frozen right around the, probably the water particulate had frozen at the sensor, and of course, had tripped the sensor. And I was venting to Jeffrey and Greg. I only use pump diesel at that rate. And we talked about how there is an acceptable moisture content or water content in fuel. That's a given. We don't want to exactly talk about that as automobile enthusiasts.
But that's why they make products like dry gas.
It is. And a form of, dry gas or stable or any of these fuel additives that have some type of, bonding snake oil stuff in them to try and help some of the impurities in our pump tank fuel that is permissible by law. Of course, back in the day, when we had less weights and measures, that frozen fuel line could actually plug up your ability for your carburetor, the float or the bowl, or the actual fuel line to function appropriately. Reasonably speaking, our new modern fuel-injected vehicles have a little less to worry about unless you have...
I was going to say, it's a lot more rare to hear somebody had water in their fuel that prevented them from starting it. But it does happen.
But it does happen, right? And it's not out of the question. And it, there's outliers to kind of every conversation, So little less to be concerned about. But I do think that Jeffrey's talking point regarding the fuel additive, this is the time to use it, right? This is the time to use it. And this is one of those things that if it works half as good as they market it to, then you have taken a step in the right direction, Of
course, we have to talk about block heaters because our Canadian-born vehicles and Jeeps come standard with those. We actually found one underneath the hood of the Jeep last week, and I said, And I went over to the door, and it said, imported by blah, 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 a little further down, and it had a little maple leaf on it. Which
100%.
It originated in the Great White North.
Now, that being said, I know you could, even when like the 19 Cherokees were out, you could buy the block heater as part of it.
Yeah.
And mine came that way at that time because it was just almost standard for those.
Right.
So objectively, covering fuel system, there's not tons and tons to move there because other than a little bit of particulate in the fuel, gas won't freeze. Diesel has the ability to gel.
It slows down.
Otherwise, that's all you have to worry about. But I love the block heater conversation because, quite frankly, there might be a number of people. Block heaters are not nearly that common unless you have a diesel, older diesel, and newer diesels do not always require them now. Older diesels did. We had, and without getting way down the rabbit hole, diesels don't have spark plugs. They don't use ignition, right? They don't make little explosions themselves. They use the compression of air, and more or less they need warm air to do that. So when the air is frigid, you can't start a diesel, right? That's the summation of it. It doesn't start easily. So, between glow plugs and
grid heaters
and warmers and all that kind of stuff.
And as you're saying that, Charles just said this is the first time he's ever had to plug in his diesel.
Right. And of course, Charles is from Texas for us, for those of you listening. And I think that's a great recommendation. Now, and so block heaters, and this is the thing, my sister moves to Alaska in early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, they have heaters for their heaters.
Yeah, and she drove a little Mazda car. It was super cool. She was super tough nut. Her and my mom packed up this little Mazda car. Why, for the life of me, a Mazda 3. It was a little sedan, 4-door manual. It was a 5-speed manual.
Probably the Mazda 3 then.
Yeah, I think it was a Mazda 3. I mean, dude, the thing had to been on like 14-inch wheels. We put some new rubber on it, loaded it down, couldn't see out the back window, took a cardboard sign, put 3 cardboard signs on it, Alaska or bust. And her and my mom drove from just outside Cleveland, Ohio to Fairbanks, Alaska, camping alongside the road in a tent and, hotel as necessary every couple days.
That is quite the drive.
It's quite the drive, right? And my sister just packed up everything she had and just moved to Alaska, right? Obvi, that car was not a good Alaskan vehicle, right? No. So she ends up buying a nice S10 Blazer, and it had a block heater on it. Mm-hmm. And this was, I'm a teenager, and other than some loosey-goosey stuff from some diesel tractors and stuff like that, I was not particularly familiar. So for those of you who are listening, we, as a society, have tried this. You were talking about your oil conversation. There was one, it was a tube that slipped down your dipstick. Mm-hmm. That one liked to catch on fire. I need you to know that one was the dangerous one, okay? Because Farmer Jim Bob would rip it out of his it would not appropriately install it. His electrical connections would not be great. It would be too close to the mechanical fan or some type of moving thing, and then the wires would chafe. Or he would rip it out when unnecessary to check the oil, actually, and it would get damaged. And then you had an exposed electrical element next to oil, and
or in oil,
or in the oil, right? And so that product, while on the market for a long time, is not one that we recommend you use if you find it still lingering around out there. There was at one time conversations about regulating that product and not making it available to domestic markets. I don't know if you can or can't get that anymore.
It's in parts stores up to like 10 years ago.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. The next most common block heater conversation is basically a patch that adheres to a primary side of the block. And think of it as a small heated blanket that adheres to.
They usually put those on oil pans. You can also put it on your battery, on your transmission pan. If you're in Alaska, you have all of those.
Correct.
And then you have a power strip.
Yeah.
You plug
everything in.
Into.
And if I recall, that one was the one my sister had. And then there was some actual threaded bung mechanical or electric mechanical heaters, which was probably the most permanent installation, which you're going to see on diesel applications or some gas
Canadian
Jeeps.
Or if you're Scott Brown.
Right. Well, the cool thing is my sister, and real quick, Jeffrey, before you get this, finish up the story, two things were true. One, you could just go to any store and the vehicles were just running outside.
Yes.
And that was very, very commonplace.
Yep.
I experienced that this weekend just ourselves at like the local Dollar General. 5 vehicles running, but empty as could be, right?
Yep.
You're relying on your fellow man not to steal your vehicle in the middle of the frigid Arctic. 2, there was actually extension cords provided by like the local convenience store, the local hardware store, the local grocery store. And so you would pull your vehicle up to,
Is that where the idea of plug-in hybrid came from?
Well, and I think there's a good joke there, right? I think there's a good joke there. And your workplace would have extension cords so that you would go to work and you would not have your vehicle sit there and idle all day necessarily. You would plug your vehicle in, and that's part of your work life, personal life experience. Super kind of fun thing that I was exposed to.
All right. So in the comments, we got Zach saying he was disappointed to discover that his 23 JTDR Far Out Edition did not come standard with a block heater. Had to buy it from the dealer.
No way.
Jeannie said good morning, that she's late. And then Red, he's got a story here. He says you could always just have your alternator fry and not unhook it in time while it kills your brand new battery and melts wires.
Yeah, that is how Jeeps burn down.
Yeah.
We want to avoid that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why the conversation about, Zach buying the appropriate block heater or, our recommendation not to buy the dipstick one in a pinch would be, recommended in part.
And a tie-in to your going the Circle K and all the cars running, Ohio felt the need to release a thing, but they just like normal chose their words poorly, and it was you should not let your vehicle puff.
No, it
during
did
the
not.
storm. They did.
They did that on purpose.
And
Yes.
That's awesome.
and people are like, what is puffing? And basically it is you're not supposed to, let your vehicle sit and run for a long period of time. It's not good for it.
Not good for the carbon monoxide buildup that can happen.
The one that I thought was the best, though, is I don't remote start my car for it. I remote start it for me. It's like, I feel seen.
That was a comment somebody put?
Because people are like, oh, you don't need to do that now with the newer
Right.
vehicles, and it's actually bad for the engine. And this person's like, kind of don't give a fig about all that.
So this is that opportunity for us to transition into why this discourse exists, because I did loosely mention again the school bus and the cardboard we put on the front because we don't need wind flow across the engine.
Which was because they were diesels and
and even our car application, we were trying to build up heat so that the engine came up to temperature, it ran a little more efficient, that if there was moisture in the fuel lines, it was not freezing or blocking anything off.
Got burned off.
Right, it got burnt off. We were doing that with intentionality to help the vehicle be more efficient. I stand upon the soapbox and say that was a thing, right? Likewise, semi trucks that were idling through the night. There's countless RVers and HDT RVers, which is people who buy HD trucks, Class 8 trucks, and try to RV out of them. There's people who don't know what they don't know, and they go out and they're in Colorado or they're in Wyoming. They're in higher elevation areas, I should say. And they go to bed and they shut the truck off. And then the next morning they wake up and there's, 8 to 10 inches of snow, and subarctic airs have, that's just a different weather pattern.
Nope.
And the vehicle just says, nope, I'm not starting, right? That's because our trucking industry experienced this, 60 years ago, and they just knew better. And so that's why the truck ran overnight, because they could then wake up and go about their day. So modern day vehicles, do not need warmed up. The tolerances at which they are manufactured are tighter. And so therefore, the ability for them to computer regulate and come up to temperature in a controlled manner is more efficient, it's faster, and does not require that natural, ambient, organic manner in which you bring a vehicle up to temperature.
That being said, on the really cold days, I still try to let mine run for a minute or two before I immediately drive out of the driveway and start revving on it.
So that's a best practice.
Yep.
Right now I'm standing on my soapbox.
Yep.
Manufacturers will tell you
It
they
don't matter.
that does not need to be warmed up.
Yep.
And
That's because the bell curve of people don't. They start it up, and as the starter is disengaging, they're putting it in gear, and they're going down the road.
I'm gonna get back on my soapbox and talk about, folks. If you own a Jeep, don't do that. Right? Mother Chrysler did not give us a vehicle that was particularly robust to do exactly what Scott's saying.
If they do that, they should be penalized and make them drive a 03 through 06 TJ with an automatic. And then they have to pause.
And with that said, and I know this is a gross exaggeration for our most modern JLs and JTs, but certainly the period of time that you're disclosing and earlier, and quite frankly, your early JKs, and I'm going to say all your JKs, because until we go to the 8-speed transmission, and even with the 8-speed, I get in, I start the engine, I sit for a couple seconds, like Jeffrey's saying. I put the automatic transmission shifter because I'm lazy. I'm not lazy about anything. I love an automatic, so whatever. I put it into neutral and I let the oil pump. Because of that TJ experience. And I encourage you now to do that exact thing.
I will never forget the phone call. It was, hey, I go to take off and it like delays. And then
when you're at the transmission
and
shop.
then it slams.
Yep.
It's yep, because it doesn't pump in park.
Yep. And the fluid's not moving, and it's thick, and it's maple syrup, and you need to actually get the pump to start moving stuff around, right? Yep. So because of these tire tolerances, because of the computer control, because of all of these things, there are actually detrimental factors like catalyst efficiency. So the problem is our Cadillac converters need to actually be at a high degree rating, which happens more so under a higher temperature, more in the 1500 degree range, which actually only happens with greater RPMs.
And they call it a flash off point.
Thank you. And so therefore, sustained idle time on a catalytic converter can actually lead to particulate buildup. Now,
plugging it up.
If your cats are new and your O2 sensors are new and new enough, the likelihood of this is low. But if the vehicle is aging and the efficiency of the catalyst material within the catalytic converters and maybe the O2 sensor's ability to accurately read what's going on in there has diminished, then you could end up with greater particulate buildup. Mm-hmm. Likewise, because the tolerances within your cylinders are so tight by comparison to the loosey-goosey stuff that we used to have under the carbon-rotated vehicles. Sustained idling can create cylinder washdown. Now, basically, while we don't exactly think of this, there is a degree of lubricity that is happening while the explosion is happening inside your each and individual cylinder wall of the engine. And our tighter tolerances had actually some degree of oiling and...
I mean, looser tolerances.
Looser tolerances. What did I say? Tighter?
Yeah.
Our looser tolerances back then,
But
they were more forgiving.
Oil would get up in there and lubricate things.
it was more forgiving.
Yeah.
You actually got some of that oil from the actual cylinder, from the actual crankcase pushing up past the cylinder. Whereas our modern day tighter tolerances, we really don't get a lot of that pushback, that blow by, that oil coming up and helping lubricate the cylinder walls. We're relying on the lubricity of the fuel itself. And while there are detergents, and we've had a whole conversation about different types of oils and viscous modifiers and yada yada, there's less and less of that. So sustained idle combustion can actually reduce lubricity and therefore damage the cylinder walls of your engine. Take it or leave it. That's a reality of why people say not to let your vehicle warm up.
I do have a lot of comments coming in. Charles said he used to drive from Houston to Edmonton, Alberta, and the hotel that they stayed at had plugs located all throughout the parking lot.
That's normal, right? I appreciate you sharing that.
Jeep and Joe said, good morning from North Carolina. It's cold for us, and he's got the diesel plugged in. And speaking of cold, it was 27 degrees on top of Big Island, Hawaii.
Oh,
I'm not even going to try to say the name of the island. And then he said he jumped out of the rental Jeep at sunset, and the SFJ 4x4 Merry Christmas hoodie did well. All the tourists loved it, and his white beard. And then Zach says, I don't care how much diesel costs. I'll warm it up before I go out.
Amen to that.
Dylan asked, what is your thoughts on the Gladiator with the Eco Diesel? Really thinking about buying one, so we'll go back to that in just a second. Daddy Jeep said if they don't need warmed up, then why do they have remote start? And we'll come back to that as well.
I answered that.
I was going to say, no, we don't need to come back to it. Scott answered it. We're not doing it for the vehicle. We're doing it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Creature comfort.
That's why my steering wheel and my seat turned on automatic.
Charles said driving a TJ and laughing, and then Red also acknowledged that too. So back to Dylan on the Eco Diesel Gladiator.
I'll also mention we don't need heated seats or cooled seats. That is not for the vehicle. That is for me, the occupant. And the manufacturer is not dumb. They recognize that helps, those creature comforts help sell vehicles.
I think in a standard that should be in the vehicles that is for the safety is heated mirrors.
That's fair.
I don't care about the heated seat or the steering wheel. Those are nice. But the heated mirrors, man, I miss having heated mirrors. That makes a big difference in this kind of weather.
You know what? You're absolutely right, because I mean, my big trucks, my Ram had heated mirrors. The International has heated mirrors. I mean, that's really standard. Those are, slightly older vehicles with not all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
And you are factually correct that
there's a visibility issue in your mirrors if you don't have heated. And prior to ever owning a vehicle with heated mirrors, I did not recognize how dramatic of a difference it is to have heated mirrors.
Yes.
And then you get used to having it, and then you switch back to non-heated mirrors, and you're like, what? How am I supposed to see?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
It's like delay wipers. Until you don't have them, you don't appreciate them.
Correct.
I was there once.
Well, and so all of those things go into this hot, cold, extreme weather situation, because those creature comforts, much like remote starting the vehicle, have seeded themselves into our everyday vehicle expectations.
Yes.
Experience. Vehicle experience.
Sure. And so we desire to have those things because if I was to go out and I was to give the bell curve of our society a rear wheel drive, bias ply, carbureted,
That would be at the end of days.
it would be the end of days.
Nope, there would be people dying. The hospitals would be packed.
And that's,
Jeff would have to become a fireman again. Because
that is
there'd be so much need.
a real and challenging reality to this situation, that these things exist for us, the consumer base, more so than the necessity and need of the vehicle itself.
And it's a little off topic, but I think it's pertinent is, because we just can't help ourselves. We're the purveyor of every group we own. So I'm sure you're on tractor groups for your specific tractor. I'm on for
That's
mine.
a you and me thing, just so
Yeah,
you know.
that's fair.
That's
I was gonna say
a you
anyway.
and me thing. That's
But because of that, you see
normal folk.
you see the snapshot of society that have gone out and bought a diesel tractor. A lot of them have never owned a diesel before.
I agree.
Or you have the diehard, I'm going to fix it with my Crescent Ranch guy.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this whole hubbub, because this is a nationwide
Yep.
thing people are feeling, of why doesn't my John Deere tractor have a block heater?
Yes.
And why doesn't it want to start up right away?
Yep.
So we had both sides of the argument, and we had people having to explain, like, you see that little light that comes on with the dash, and then
Yep.
that's your glow plugs. You got to let it run. And then the other guy going, no, you really don't need a block heater on these new diesels
Correct.
unless it's like Antarctica.
Correct.
Or,
I mean,
or
a
Alaska.
subarctic temperature,
Yeah.
which in some situations we have seen that with, some folks who are experiencing this weather
Absolutely.
system. And I'm going to sidebar for a second because I feel like it needs to be said. I think that it's part your fault.
Uh-oh.
Of some of my challenges, because you and I met at a pretty young age, and I really thought the manner in which we related to the world and the idiosyncrasies that we fixated on
Was normal?
was more normal.
Yeah.
As Jeffrey is saying,
Nope.
because you're right. I got all excited about undercoating the other day.
You did.
And customer asked me about undercoating. I had to explain that I'm in the undercoating social pages, and
Yeah.
and the guy just kind of looked at me, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna
Be quiet now.
be quiet.
I was like, he likes to nerd out on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but anywho, you're absolutely right, and there are different technologies like the International Series built engines. They do not have some type of glow plug or preheat operation on
And
them.
really what it comes down to is, if whatever you've chosen for being your equipment or your daily vehicle, you need to research it and know what's important for it. Is just because you had a diesel once and it was this way doesn't mean it's this way now. Same way with a Jeep. Just because you once rode in an open top Jeep at some point in your life does not mean that is how it stands hold for your current Jeep. So example, if you had a TJ and it took 1030 oil, well, that doesn't mean 1030 oil is right for your JL. Just because they both, when you squint, kind of look like the same vehicle doesn't mean they are the same vehicle. So if you have questions, or maybe you should have questions, you should go and research that specific and know what you need to do, because when you don't, that costs you money,
Right.
and time and effort and all that stuff, which also costs you money.
So as far as Jeffrey had started on the EcoDiesel conversation, I really have a special place in my heart for the 3.0 EcoDiesel amongst the Stellantis lineup. Now, with that said,
Before you go to that, I'm going to say, I think the 3.0 is the best diesel they've ever put in the North American released Jeep, compared to the other diesels we've had options.
so what Scott did there was he chose his words incredibly wisely
Yes.
for our main market demographic, because in the grand scheme of the world, our diesel options have sucked
So
for 40, 50 years.
And now this will make me get all passionate on my soapbox. We're still doing a bad job of it because, yes, while the option exists and that, I challenge you to go out and have a easy to digest pool of vehicles to purchase with the 3.0 in it. I looked hard and far, and I had option. And I had to give up 90% of what I wanted on that truck just to get the diesel.
Right.
So you chose not to.
So I chose not to, and I got a gas because they don't do a good job of supplying the market for that option. I think they just don't take us serious.
Well, I'm gonna try not to get on my soapbox regarding federal regulatory and incentive programs for diesel versus gas combustion engines, because if we incentivized diesel production like we do gas or hybrid electric previously, then we would have better diesel technology.
Yeah.
With that said, go back to Scott's conversation. This particular diesel engine is the best we've ever seen in a production Jeep vehicle. The EGR system leaves a lot to be desired. And so,
but it is something that you're going to have on any new production diesel.
Correct.
Over a certain horsepower rating.
And so I think that when we see that particular option set, and we also have start-stop technology, which I think is valuable as we transition slightly this conversation into electrical load in extreme temperatures, if you will. But finish up kind of the comment about the eco diesels. We have seen a great utilization out of them, pretty good reliability. We have yet to have them around long enough to get that good, warm and fuzzy diesel feeling of 200, 300,000 miles.
I did hear that the earlier models, which were pre-Jeep installation, this is Ram specifically, had a lot of teething problems and issues.
Correct.
And the second generation, which is what then we started seeing in our JLs and JTs, is a much better sorted engine.
It's important to note these were in Grand Cherokees as well.
Yeah.
So the Grand, as we always talk about,
I was gonna say,
test
it's a
beds, a
test.
lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The blah, blah. The 1500
Yeah.
Ram, as you mentioned, when there was conversation around the Hemi, they did a big push into the eco diesel market. The teething problems are absolutely accurate.
And again, this is going to be your first diesel, you should definitely learn a little bit. I tried to buy a diesel Grand, and my wife was not equipped or prepared for the dieselness of the diesel.
Sure.
And when we say that, compared to some of the trucks I grew up around, it was a very, very nice experience. She just didn't like the smell.
Yep.
Of the exhaust or of the fuel, which there's really hard to not to have that.
Oh, I love the smell of diesel in a cold morning. Oh my God.
So
If they can make cologne out of that, I'd absolutely
you
wear it.
may only attract yourself though.
The best part is my wife tolerates these things that I play with.
And
I don't know.
Tolerates.
she just really likes you.
I know. She's weird. All right. So I feel like I don't want to kick the dead horse any more than that, but as far as diesels and cold morning stuff, what I do think is valuable, and I had mentioned it loosely with my International, and that has a lot to do with cylinder sleeve design. Additionally, newer modern diesels requiring less of the preheat situation or none at all. Some of these tractors, some of these small diesel engines, that's not to be spoken for the older ones. Where that conversation transcends is then they need to have maximum voltage supply from your electrical system.
Yep.
And this is super valuable in extreme cold temperatures. You may kind of make worse a failing or dying battery in the process.
There's no question. It's going to be worse because, as we alluded to earlier, that electrical load and robustness of that battery is going to be diminished when the temperature drops. So if you have an ailing or old battery, it's going to show itself more, which is why, coldest day every year, if you go and, like a Sam's Club or automotive place, there's going to be people backed up buying batteries.
Yes.
Because we are a response society now. We don't plan, we respond. Well, the car barely started, or it didn't start.
Or it didn't start.
So now I have to today, on the worst day, which I've been there.
Yep.
I may or may not have been sitting in a Sam's Club parking lot putting a battery in my wife's car years ago.
Yep.
Because the line to have it installed was some ridiculous thing. So I got them to allow me to do the installation and still get the warranty because
Nice.
they were so pressed for time. I was like,
I'll take it.
I can do that. So I get it, but test your stuff, look at it, make sure that your batteries are up to snuff because you need them to be.
We know factually that a weak battery overnight in cold or sub-zero temperatures can lose 50% of its capacity.
And that's actually expected.
Right.
Right.
That's expected for a weak battery. For a new battery, 10 to 20% loss overnight in those temperatures.
So kind of put that in perspective. If your battery has a CCA of 800, which is actually pretty high, that means you have 400 CCA now.
To actually start the vehicle. And CCA is cold cranking amperage or amps. And so there are these.
And that's the first time you hit the key.
Yes.
Right.
Every time you try, it's going down and going
Correct.
down.
And so ultimately you're hitting that key and it's sending a signal to your starter, and the starter now is cold and unhappy in its current position because it is like not actually frozen, but it is sitting there.
If you have other things plugged in as well overnight, like the dash cams that people are using all night, 24 hours, that kind of stuff, that will also put a load on the battery. Normal conditions, that's probably not a big deal over time.
Right.
But when it's cold, it's going to suck that battery power down even more.
That's correct. And all of this, and this is part of that starter conversation I was saying, is that the starter is unhappy and now it's requiring even more voltage, right? Those electrical components are requiring even more voltage because there is a higher resistance, and we could get into actual electrical specifications, but you just need to know there's higher resistance because of the cold.
Well, that and your battery, your cables start to corrode over time, your grounds start to corrode. All of that adds more electrical load.
Let me
to
get my
the starting.
soapbox for 2 seconds too. With an example first, the eco diesels do have a bigger battery with the JLs and the JTs. And you can install that larger battery into your regular JTs and JLs.
And
But
JKs.
With that said, the reason our Jeeps currently have 2 batteries is because now we have double the whatever the ratings are. They combine. Mm-hmm. It's like Captain Planet all over again.
Wow. Wow.
Trying not to break out into song, I'll be honest with you.
Right?
So anyway, when you've gone in and
you want to,
and that little battery has wronged you, and you don't like the start stop, and someone told you that you removed the little battery and your start stop's going to stop working, which is false. Mm-hmm. And now you've removed the little battery and you still have your small top battery, and you suddenly have the worst weather you've seen in 10 years and your Jeep doesn't start. That's your fault.
Yeah, because as part of our Jeep's work, there is now a degree of checks and balances electrically that immediately happens. Again, we go back to that older model. The battery supplies voltage to the starter. The starter might be unhappy. The engine might be slower to turn over than usual. But realistically, it's a mechanical action. Once I get that mechanical action running, the alternator take over and fill that battery back up. In our modern engines,
it just had an epiphany. What happened is we got spoiled from 91 to 06.
Sure.
And we just had a very simple, kind of rudimentary, robust vehicle. And we've got in our heads that all vehicles are that way, which is not the case.
Yeah, I think it's the people who hit their stride, right? And so, I mean, I think that that's the hardest part is that people who were getting their driver's license and learning about vehicles, they in that time frame is where the challenge presents itself the most, because in 07 it starts to get a little more complex, and by the currently our current JK and JLJT production, when that initial electrical signal happens, not only is it starting the engine, but it's waking up the computer, and it's having to go through a complete series of checks and balances with all of these sensors, with all of these modules. You need lots of electricity to do that.
Where the early 4-liter HO series was pretty much like two guys on two hilltops going, "Hey, you okay over there?" And it was like, "Yep, okay,
Yep.
Start. Go ahead."
That's pretty much it. So
I just want to jump back to the comment real quick because Red commented, "Well, crap, that happened to mine with a junk brand new battery." And there is something to be said about the quality of the battery as well
Absolutely.
as the age of the battery.
well, and that's why these talking points regarding cold cranking amperage and reserve capacity, and you bringing up your conversation regarding the dose batteries with the big battery and the small battery. The big battery is your primary start battery, right? The big challenge we have, much like the eco diesels and the Grands and the 1500s being less than desirable, the initial small auxiliary batteries were left something to be desired. They became parasitic, and they ate off the big battery, leaving you stranded in your relatively 2-3 year old vehicle. Not to mention, modern day battery technology is not what it once was pre-COVID.
No,
Whatever happened,
it broke the battery industry.
it broke the battery industry. I don't know what was happening federally at or before COVID, but COVID broke the battery industry. And I'm not sure what regulatory processes happened again, 18, 19, 20, but batteries have never been good again, right? And I need you, I stand on my soapbox, take that to the cleaners. Somebody prove me wrong. Tell me why that is, right? Tell me why batteries are good now. I don't know, but they haven't been. With that said, we need all of that extra capacity to run the checks and balances, to start the starter, to do all that stuff. What happens when we don't have it? And that is obviously why we're going to address this for one of our listeners.
We're almost to the point now with current vehicles where a battery tender is more important than a block heater.
Stinking men.
All of that.
Yep.
'Cause the battery being at tippy-top shape and maintained is pretty much your most important thing.
especially with all of the sensitivities of the newer systems.
And you think about my truck, it's a 21 JT Rubicon. Because it's me, I started from my window. Immediately, the rear defroster is on.
Zach said no lies detected. Just putting that out there.
Yeah. Appreciate that,
The
Zach.
seat turns on, the steering wheel turns on. It goes on the full blast on the blower motor.
Mm-hmm.
All that is extra load on that electrical system, and it just started.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, we're asking things of battery systems that we've never had before.
So, and as you mentioned, our first and foremost recommendation for anyone who has the capacity to do this is a smart onboard battery tender charger.
Yep.
We specifically utilize the not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored. The NOCO 2.0 Genius Series onboard tender.
But NOCO, if you want to, slide into Jeffrey's DMs,
We're open for it, right? I can't begin to tell you how many of
Just don't
our
send the pictures.
That's fair.
how many of our
Joe
customers
Brillo's got some good pictures I don't need to see.
how many of our customers we have installed this specific battery tender on. And as you mentioned, I'm just reiterating it, I far more believe the value of that particular unit than a block heater for a vast majority of people. And to mention, though,
Especially
because
for a
I've been
vehicle.
working with Red and he's commenting, this becomes a challenge because Red lives in a space where he does not have access to plugging in his vehicle. And so there then presents a challenge. And I know that the Angry Turtle once lived in a space where he could not run an extension cord out to his vehicle. It just was not permissible by the area that he lived in. And so that becomes incredibly challenging. We then have to kind of protect our best interests. With that, I need you to know I'm a mocha. Oh my gosh, yes. I need a mocha latte. I am a NOCO fanboy, and the NOCO jump packs are amongst our preferred jump pack operation. Now, that is a lithium ion based, small, compact, big voltage jump pack.
USB charged.
There's a bunch of value to those jump packs. I am very confused by your standard suitcase, briefcase jump pack that's still sold at the box stores today.
New stuff is scary.
Yeah, that's weird.
And that one has a battery in it, so they feel better.
Correct. It has a lead acid or
like a lawnmower battery.
Yeah, some type of NiCad-esque battery.
The little battery in that is okay. The little battery in your vehicle is not okay.
Yeah, that's weird to me. I don't understand that. It's lost on me. And so it's valuable. And part of this conversation, and just for the listener who'd requested this, the conversation is utilizing a jump pack or jumper cables, right? Because we still jump in an efficient way that does not fry the sensitivities of our system.
And I feel like you just made a trigger moment, because I remember a newer driver had jumper cables, didn't know how to use them. Mm-hmm. Red is positive. Black is negative.
Don't put red to black.
Nope. Things will go bad real fast.
So
Can kill both vehicle batteries if you're trying to jump.
And the jumper cables.
And the jumper cables.
and
Yeah, I've seen them on fire.
the challenge, today I actually jumped a Jeep, dead as a doornail in our parking lot. Showed up last week at the end of the week, probably Thursday or something. I don't know how it got here, but it's dead as a doornail. And I popped the hood to jump it.
You didn't know Jeeps just randomly pop up in our parking lot now?
No,
It's
right.
like a teleportation
I
thing.
know.
They just keep popping
So
up.
challenging. That there was no red and there's no black. Okay. Now, this is something that the Jeep owner, may or may not have done based on the fact that they've replaced some things.
Then you look for the plus, which is red, and the slash, which is negative.
Correct. And that's the value is that arguably I've never seen a battery that did not have the molded negative or positive. The battery might be dirty. You might have to excavate it under some grime. But if you are unsure, you need to explicitly verify that.
Yeah.
Well, and
Now-
I think it's also important to note too, like with the jump packs, it's more specific to have the red to red and black to black. On older vehicles, if you were using jumper cables, as long as the same one went to the same one on the other,
Well, that's fair.
it was fine. So if you put black on positive on one vehicle, black better be on positive on the other vehicle, and vice versa.
That is fair.
We don't recommend that,
We don't
folks.
recommend.
We
Just
don't.
stick with red and black. It's easier, but
With the jump pack conversation, and part of my reassurance to those of you who maybe don't have a jump pack as part of your your onboard toolkit, is that the NOCOs and a number of the new smart jump packs. I'll be honest, Harbor Freight even sells a NOCO knockoff. Amazon sells them, whatever. If you put them black to positive and red to negative,
It yells at you.
it won't work. It won't allow you
to fry your battery.
to fry your battery or to fry yourself in the
Still
process.
don't want to test it, though.
I was gonna say I would trust some of the more advanced ones, but some of the cheaper ones that you find on Amazon, they may not actually be that smart.
Yeah.
They say
And
they are,
Results
but
might vary.
Correct. And that is a smart source. We are relying on a bit of a computer chip control knowledge that little unit has.
I just got to call out Rob. He's been behind in conversation this whole time.
I think Rob's internet is lagging.
Rob, do you need coffee?
It's all
Does
the
your
wood
internet
he.
need coffee?
It's all the wood he chopped up on the mountaintop there. We're just playing in the background, and he's just kind of weighing in sporadically.
I just like this. Never mind.
He's
Jeff
too
just said
busy
it.
building his bumper.
That's right.
That's true.
So as far as that smart, the smart jump pack technology, now there is older jump pack technology, the briefcase ones that I was talking about, or the big rolly cart ones that you can absolutely flip a switch. And if you are hooked up incorrectly, things are going to go south very fast.
Yep.
And so while best case scenario, we encourage you to be conscientious, to identify the red and the black cables, to find the positive and the negative cables.
And I'll just give you my PSA from my dad. You hook up the positive first, and you then hook up the negative, and you do the reverse.
And
I don't know why, but
the piece, I had a Chevy Impala. I just this is the God's honest truth, that would not jumpstart if I hooked up the ground cable direct to battery. I needed to hook it up to a good ground on the chassis. I had this car for almost a decade, and it would not jumpstart if I went battery to battery.
it is a Chevy Impala for you.
And so my piece with that is, don't be afraid to, if you're not getting a good jump start, either jump pack or vehicle to vehicle, to go ahead and wiggle those cables a little bit. The actual alligator clips that are in your hands or that are part of the jump pack, to ensure that you have a good, strong bite out of them to the electrical components themselves.
And something else just flashed in my head. I saw someone trying to jumpstart something. It was on a video, and some sparks happened, and they were bound determined they were going to get electrocuted. No, can't. It's 12 volts. It's not going to electrocute you. The only thing is the coil, and on our new coil pack vehicles, that's really hard to get even zapped by.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with this conversation.
Yeah, so don't
don't worry
be
about
concerned
that.
about that.
As long as we're going, and the worst thing is if you do switch those jumper cables,
And don't jumpstart it with 110.
oh God,
I
Oh my
saw
God.
that video too.
No, I watched that, and I think it's like AI or somebody
I
trolling.
hope so.
If you do sparky, it's okay. Just remove the cables kind of expeditiously, right? The thing is, they will kind of weld themselves together.
Under hood welding is always fun.
That is not recommended. Okay, so have some confidence, have some reserve, and recognize that it's okay. We don't need to panic and kind of go wild and crazy with the alligator clips in our hands. I will give the further PSA on my fanboydom. I went to move a Jeep that's in my possession, or a Jeep of mine, and it has probably been sitting off and on for, I don't know, 2 months or so. And in it is one of my no-code jump packs. And it's just kind of sitting. Honestly, my son and I took it to when we went west to Las Vegas, probably the last time I know that I used it. So early November, that jump pack has been sitting here. I would have topped it off. It's important that it's in my opinion, you keep your batteries maintained and topped off. Again, that's what the battery manufacturing technology desires to see and expects. It expects a topped off battery. So I come in after I've used these things, I plug them back in and I top them off. This is not NiCad technology. If that reference is lost on you, I'm sorry, we don't have time to expand on this in this program. But I top it off. I've left it in there. It's gone through all winter. I hit the power button. I was like, I wonder what this is, over the weekend. Fully charged.
Yep.
Fully charged. Last piece of this conversation. With the smart jump pack technology, the biggest complaint I see with people is that they'll put it on and the battery is a stone. It has a bad cell. It's a problematic battery. and that the jump pack does not want to play nice with it. It's the best way to put it.
Leo really wants you to say hi, just so you know.
Oh, hey, buddy boy. That's my son saying hi on the program. He's watching in as well. My son knows how to jumpstart a vehicle, fortunately.
He should be.
Yes.
Simpson.
Right? So for multiple reasons.
Say, how many times has he had to jumpstart
For
you?
multiple reasons, we need everybody in our family should be equipped. Long story. Let me finish this.
No.
So there is an override. There is a way to override the smart technology of those jump packs. And each jump pack is going to be different. And that is, people will put it on and the jump pack stops blinking at them. And they're like, well, now what do I do? There is actually an override button for the no codes. You push it and you hold it, and it will force voltage into the system.
But when you have that happen, your battery's really not healthy.
Your battery is not healthy, and this is when you can, if hooked up incorrectly, you can cause further damage.
And so it's not Noco's fault that your battery's junk.
That's
in that
correct.
Situation.
That is correct. So in these extreme and cold temperatures, I hope there was something there you found of value.
I think we're going to have to actually do an episode on battery technology, because there's a lot of questions and comments, especially with the aux battery and workarounds if the aux battery's dead. Zach brought that up. Charging your battery, how long does it take to drive? These are all questions we're going to have to answer in another episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I know that one of our new watchers, listeners, had jumped on and asked about our preferred battery technology. I'd love to expand upon that because just factually, not all batteries are created equal, and there is a price difference for a reason.
Yes.
That the battery that you buy, the bottom end, the value craft battery at AutoZone or the Walmart battery is affordable for a reason.
Yeah, if it says value on the battery, panic.
And that's not to say that you cannot find an economical battery.
Right.
But
and like we said earlier, just because it was good, 10 years ago, doesn't mean it's good today either.
Totes. I think we've got a podcast topic in the making, and we will, look forward to expanding upon that further for folks. If you have any further, pressing questions, you can reach out to us at contact, CONTACT, at sfj4x4.com, or just go to the sfj4x4.com, fill out the contact form submission, and it'll send in to us, and we can help expand upon that either in email or on air for you next time. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.
I hope we covered enough extreme temperature. We didn't even talk windshield wipers.
No,
There's so many things that we could talk about.
There is.
Yeah.
I want to talk about diesels the whole time.
What about wipers? Do you prefer leave the wipers up or down on the windshield?
So I have found...
I want to hear both your guys' opinions, and I'll give my opinion as well.
I have found that when they're up and then they get frozen that way, and then they don't want to go down, and they don't want to wipe the windshield because the spring has now been frozen up. I had that happen one time when I left them up, and I've never left them up since.
Oh.
So I'd rather...
You're a wiper up guy, aren't you?
I have become a wiper up guy.
Okay.
I have adopted that habit and actually our experience with each other just within the last few years. I've become a wiper up guy.
I am not a wiper up guy. I'm a wiper down guy for multiple reasons. I've literally seen the situation that Scott's talking about. I've seen them break windshields because a person will try to put them back down
100%.
and the wiper comes off.
over.
Yep. I've
Absolutely.
seen the biggest thing that I think is the challenge is you can't turn your wipers on if you leave them down until you've checked to make sure that they separate from the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
So when I scrape it off, that's when I'm checking them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take responsibility for my actions, right? And so this is that conversation about, remote starting and or I'm doing it for me, not for it or you or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, the whole wiper conversation, and I went into panic mode the other day because my mom and dad put their wipers up, because that's, again, we take responsibility for where we're at and what we're doing, and they picked their wiper up, and the wiper body separated from the blade.
Yep. Also seen that.
So I've never had my wipers freeze in a position, as you two are indicating, right? I've never had that experience.
Because you drive Jeeps more and they have a straight up windshield. It's less apt to happen that way.
Which very well could be the case,
Because
right?
when mine happened, I was driving a Subaru and the windshield was laying down very much.
Were
so.
you driving a Subaru or were you driving
A Subaru.
a Subaru? All right. So, anyways, if you don't know, then you're gonna have to go back and listen to some other podcasts. That's what that's about. So, anywho, so I kind of went into panic mode because exactly what you said. My greatest concern in the world, I'm even terrified. I am anxious about changing wiper blades because that spring-loaded wiper arm flinging down. And I know that modern windshields really don't take much to compromise that.
Something else that's got more expensive in the last 10 years is windshields.
All right, we're supposed to be doing our weekend
Yeah,
updates and not talking more
So-
about this, but
I was sick over the weekend, so all I did was pretty much recover. I did go out and fire up the tractor and clear the driveway because, I spent way too much time, being that neighbor, staring out my window, watching someone try to plow with their ATV. He did okay, but man, does that beat the crap out of you. And I was like thinking to myself, I'm so glad my days of that are over.
right.
And then I watched it was kind of funny to watch, in the neighborhood, we had, ATV guy, which obviously he's more superior than neighbor with the John Deere tractor 2-wheel drive with a blade on it. He's out there, again, beating the crap out of himself. Lawnmower
with a blade on it.
But they were both superior to the guy trying to hand shovel his driveway.
Yep, been there.
And I was like, it's Sunday, middle of the day. Where do you got to go, man?
Right?
Like, I felt so bad. I was like, if I wasn't sick, I'd be like, hey, do you need me just to take care of that for you? Because I don't want you to die out,
Right.
stroke out right here.
Yep.
So then I purposely waited till everybody was calmed down back in their house. And I was like, I'm just going to wait till before it gets dark, go out, clear it with the loader. In my specific situation, man, I will never plow my driveway again after having a tractor with a loader. It just... I see again on all those pages, people are trying so desperately to put blades on the front of their John Deere tractors, and I'm like, why? You bought it with a loader.
Yeah, I get it. I think a front blade, specifically a front blade, so tractor, truck, whatever, gives it such a nice finished look.
Would you put it in front of your bucket?
Well, no,
the
I
whole
wouldn't.
mechanism.
Right.
Well,
I understand what you're saying.
But my thing is, you can get a nice finished look with the bucket, with the loader. Like, it is all about how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's skill like anything else. You need to get better at it.
I think that there's some people who are professionals within the snow removal industry who will disagree with us. That's why box blades on loaders exist. I've gone down this rabbit hole enough with, honestly, a great customer of ours who is pretty far down the snow removal.
Oh, yeah.
And he
The box blade is going to be your best bet.
correct. And
I mean,
it's
that's a whole nother game.
is this finished look, and it's whether you need that or not.
Yeah, I just need to move the snow out of my way.
Correct. If you're just like, I'm about the functionality of the snow, I can make it look pretty darn nice with what I have.
Right.
You know, if you're trying to do your family's drives, 3 or 4 of them, and they're across town, driving the tractor is not always particularly efficient. Ask me how I know. So
I did think of you though as I'm out there being cold. Wishing like, man, the cab would be nice.
cab would be whatever.
I'll tell you what, the cab on your tractor's awesome. I was comfortable. all morning.
You know what? I pulled in this morning and you were clearing the lot, and I thought, I'm glad Jeffrey's having a good time. You know, I don't know how much longer you'll have that option or opportunity. I hope you're out there enjoying the tractor and having fun, you know. But that is where I'm at in life is this is the conversation about batteries all over again. It's diesel all over again. It's treating the fluids for longevity. When my wife and I sought out to order the tractor, I grew up in a family. We had the same tractors for 50 some years before I inherited them, basically.
Yeah. And you still have them.
We still technically have them, right?
Yeah.
And so when I bought the tractor, I wanted to buy the best possible option for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to buy the $250,000 whatever this, that, and the
best
third.
you can afford.
But I bought the best I could afford for purposes of this. And as Jeffrey jumped into the cab, he was able to pull out of the shop and do his best to clear out the front end of the shop in a professional manner for our customer base. And I love it. The only piece about, clearing the snow, people in the afternoon, kind of like mowing the lawn, which I also know that you don't have a great appreciation for. And this is my conversation about snow removal professionals. We're also not getting online and hanging out with the stripes and cut of our lawnmowers.
You
right?
are, but that's an exception.
That's because
I was going to say,
because he's a zero-turn owner now.
So anywho, there is something to be said about if you maintain the snow removal, it's easier on your equipment or your body, like shoveling it if you're still hand moving the mouth of your driveway.
But there's a big difference between having to do that,
Yes.
like keeping up with the storm, or having a tractor that simply doesn't give a crap.
Without doubt. And I guess, my thing is, and I will transition my own weekend update of sorts with the conversation of the tractor and the Jeeps and the storm and the this. I feel like I thrived this weekend. And the peculiarity...
You just enjoy being able to play
Life.
with your fun
Life.
toys.
I enjoy the moment. Understandably, my wife and I are not where we want to be, right? But we're further ahead than where we were. And having that attitude of gratitude to recognize that then allows me to play the Batman. I was born in the dark. You merely adopted the dark in the South, right? I'm thinking, I have 4x4s. I've got fair rubber on them. I've got the tractor. We have the means to not have to panic buy, to not be in this position. And so therefore we had the opportunity to then extend to the people closest to us to say, hey, if you run into any problems, we are here for you. We're here to help in however capacity we are, because I think that the delicacy of the human experience is such that we underrate what little change has to happen in our lives to upset the apple cart.
Oh, absolutely.
And for specifically my family, this is not that big of a deal, right? As our extended family unit, this just, this is just winter in our life experience.
Yeah.
I was going to say, for our area, I feel that it largely unaffected society. But you go down south where they're not used to this weather and they're getting pounded by it, and in some areas worse than we got it.
Mm-hmm.
That is a challenge.
100%.
Because they don't have the infrastructure, the facilities, the equipment to manage.
The way their houses are designed aren't the same.
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
it's
And I
completely
empathize in that regard, right? Which is, of course, why we, wanted to share with the some of the people close to us. Say, if we can help you, we will. However that might look. I mean, if we literally just need to come and pick you up, and if you have no power, if you're locked in some capacity,
right.
We're okay. Because as you mentioned, we didn't get the ice buildup. We have power on still, obvi. Right. And so we do empathize for the people who, might not have that available to them at this time. But for the most part, I quite enjoyed being out this weekend. And I will mention, despite the fact that I do not believe that we got the Armageddon-esque weather that they had said was potential, I do think there was benefit that we kept the Jim Bob average off the road for some reason or another. And I share that with you, Scott, because I quite felt that our roads were more clear than I expected them to be, despite the fact that there is a buildup of, snow or ice on them.
I was shocked while I was clearing the drive yesterday that I only saw a car on my road.
Right. I thought
And I thought
people
that was really good.
actually listened. They actually took heed of potential severity of the situation, and therefore our first responders, our road maintenance individuals were able to just do their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
And
wasn't the massive pileups on 90 that there have been leading up to this weekend. So
Yep.
this weekend was underwhelming, which is
Yeah.
what we wanted it to be.
That's correct. That's correct. You have a good day too, Red. I'm responding to comments. He's
I saw.
mentioned us to us. So that was my thing. I played with life and 4-wheel drive things and whatnot this weekend.
We had, for the nonprofit, a business strategy meeting, so that was interesting, learning more about strategic direction and how to have better governance and everything like that. So that's part of our grant that we got. We're working through with a strategy company, and fortunately they work on weekends because our team is mostly weekends available. So spent some time with that, spent some time on some other business endeavors. Got a long couple weeks ahead, and we'll see where that leads, and if I have a big announcement in a couple weeks or not.
Yeah, sounds good. I think that, and as Lee has mentioned in the comments, he wanted us to keep talking so he didn't have to go brave the cold and plow. I think this brings us to our end. And as Jeffrey said, he may or may not have some stuff to share with us. Hopefully it goes rather unaffected for our media pursuits and the ability to bring you all this podcast in its current configuration. I hope everybody who's tuned in today and those of you who choose to make this part of your infotainment purposes have a warm and safe and a good enough experience. Obviously in the Jeep and 4x4 community, we are slightly ahead of the curve. Again, as we've mentioned in the previous one, just because we can go faster in the snow doesn't mean we stop faster in the snow and ice, so be conscious of that, folks. And I hope there was some valuable information we shared today. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.